booming sound.
You're getting picked up. Yeah.
Yours works good. Speak loudly. I'm just waiting for the mayor. He's coming.
Good.
Okay, we'll call this meeting of the Jamestown City Council voting session for Monday, May 22nd, 2023 to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Sheldon.
Here.
Brackman. Here. Karuga. Here. Reynolds.
Present.
Faulkner.
Here.
Eklund. Here. Versa.
Here.
Russell.
Here.
President Wolf.
Here. This time I ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for the invocation which will be given tonight by the Reverend Tom DeLoe of Kidder Memorial United Methodist Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. For the invocation tonight, I'd like to present just a few words from the late John Lewis's book, Across That Bridge. One of his chapters is entitled Faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. There is one question people ask me more than any other. How did you do it? How did you hold to nonviolence when a pounding wall of vicious hate was pushing through you like waves of fire during the protests and sit-ins of the civil rights movement? The answer is simple: faith. Faith has the power to deliver us all, even from the greatest harm. Faith to me is knowing you in the solid core of your soul that the work is already done, even as an idea is being conceived in your mind. Nothing can make you doubt that what you have heard will become a reality. Even if you do not live to see it come to pass, you will know without one doubt that it will be. That is faith. May we live and work in this community with faith. May you lead us with faith. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Will. Do I have approval of the minutes from the April 24th, 2023 working session? So moved by Councilwoman Rubin. Do we have any messages from the mayor this evening?
We do. Dear council members, in May 2023, we have welcomed one new employee to the city of Jamestown, Paul Mosai, Jamestown Police Department. I am asking that this new hire be acknowledged and welcomed to the city at the May 22nd, 2023 City Council meeting. On May 12th, 2023 and May 15th, 2023, I recognized by proclamation the retirement of two City of Jamestown employees, Roger Sigler, Jamestown Fire Department, and Timothy Newell, Department of Public Works. Attached, please find the retirement proclamations honoring and congratulating our retiring employees. Very truly yours, Edward A. Sunquist.
Thank you. Thank you. At this time, we give opportunities for people to address the council. If you'd like to address the council tonight, please step up to one of the mics, give us your name and address, and limit your remarks to 5 minutes or less. And we'll like to address the council this evening.
Good evening. We are Matt and Katie Russo, and we live at 136 Deering Avenue. Matt and I are lifelong residents of Jamestown. We chose to build a life here, raise our family in this community. We take a lot of pride in Jamestown. Matt spent 27 years with the Jamestown Fire Department, and I am approaching 30 years with the Jamestown Public School System. Through our leadership roles in our professional lives, we understand that there are numerous factors that go into every decision that must be made. We've always supported our local government with that same mindset and understanding. We choose not to judge too quickly when tough decisions need to be made. But recently, with the issue of the SAFER grant, we find ourselves wondering what might be the other factors that are playing into this becoming such a difficult decision for City Council to make. We recognize that there will be a cost to the city associated with accepting the grant and bringing on 8 more firefighters. But we also know that there could be potential savings when the manning is at appropriate levels. The work of our first responders has grown exponentially over the past 2 decades. Being awarded such a competitive grant seems to indicate that others recognize our fire department is understaffed and are therefore giving the city the opportunity to increase manpower. We believe council should lift the hiring freeze and accept the grant. During the 3 years, the council will have the opportunity to try and renew the grant or find alternative funding sources. If at the end of the grant period, the city is not able to fund the 8 additional positions, the tough decision to lay off firefighters would need to be made. However, we would still have had 3 years of better fire protection and EMS service within the city. We attempted to seek information about this issue from our ward's councilman and offer our opinion, but the email that we sent on April 25th went unanswered, as did a second email sent yesterday. We ask for transparency in your leadership and share with the community what the obstacles are that make accepting this grant and lifting the hiring freeze so difficult that they outweigh the massive benefit of greater protection to the members of our community, even if only for 3 years. We believe the City Council should vote to lift the hiring freeze, accept the SAFER grant, and bring a higher level of safety and security to the residents of Jamestown. We thank you for your service to our community.
Thank you. Does anyone else would like to address the council?
You guys hear me all right? My name is Anthony Chota, and I live at 144 Clifton Avenue, Jamestown, New York. I'm complaining about the continual criminal negligence of the Jamestown Police and this mayor, whose policies have emboldened the people of this city to commit crimes upon myself. The blossoming drug trade and the recent murder in the city are good examples of what results when a police department allows people to commit violations and crimes. We don't need cameras on school buses. We don't need cameras in school zones. What we need is the physical presence of police issuing tickets to gain respect for the law that the people of Jamestown have lost. In various neighborhoods where I've been, I get answers by the police to my noise and reckless driving complaints like, we stayed there for a period of minutes, but there were no violations. Or recently, when I made a noise complaint at 4:45 a.m., the police responded at 6 a.m. When I constantly witness these violations day and night, there's no reasons for this police negligence. The chronic, emboldening type of police negligence led to an incident involving myself and a skateboarder on August 28th, 2022, after dark, when he was skateboarding in the street. Witnesses were involved, including the skateboarder, who all committed perjury on the police report, while I was given 3 tickets. After my October 18th, 2022 appearance in the Jamestown City Court, Judge Panabianco presiding, these actions were to be transferred from the Jamestown Court because of the extreme bias against myself by both Jamestown Court judges, Lemon Crusoe and Panabianco. But without authority, Judge Panabianco later dismissed all 3 of my tickets. Judge Panabianco's dismissal of these tickets had the effect of giving safe harbor to perjurers. The actions of the Jamestown Corporation Counsel, Elliot Ramondo, who failed to transfer these cases, had the effect of giving safe harbor to perjurers. The actions of the Jamestown Police who failed to comply with vehicle and traffic statutory requirements had the effect of giving safe harbor to perjurers. Further, during my October 18th court appearance, Judge Pontebianco reduced most of the people's traffic tickets to parking violations. By not issuing punishments in accordance with the law for these traffic violations, Judge Pontebianco's acts, along with the acts of our Corporation Council and the Jamestown Police, not only allows people to commit these violations, but rewards them for doing it. Vehicle drivers who I am complaining about are committing crimes around me. The Jamestown Police, the Mayor, the Corporation Council, Judge Pontebianco are promoting violations which lead to crimes by refusing to hold people properly accountable under the law. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council this evening?
My name is Doug Champ, I live at 225 Bowen Street. The situation here is kind of cut and dry, and it's important that we understand how we got to this point. I've been an advocate for public safety, the fire department, when I was in the room with Matt Cohn for years. Advocating strongly for firemen under the American Rescue Plan when the administration felt it wasn't needed. And public safety regarding the fire department has always been close to me. I have relatives that were in the fire department, long since passed. And the situation, I think, shouldn't have come this far along. And what I mean by that is that there is a legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch of government. They all have to work together. Now, when this grant was acquiesced for use within Jamestown, it's quite obvious that the city council had no knowledge of it. Before that, even the police chief, who actually is public safety director, had no knowledge of it. He's so omitted. That's not the way you do things. If the city council had been brought on board as part of the team approach of utilizing their talent, the administration's knowledge of what they needed, we wouldn't be here now in some kind of political dialogue of who's right or wrong. This is not what this city should be about. Public safety is a treasured responsibility for those who serve us. And it's up to citizens to look at that service and demand the best they can have. But when you have a problem where one side's not relating to the other by choice, then we get to this point. So what happens tonight, I'm fine with it. More firemen, more safety, more fires being put out, more emergency services done. All of this is good. But from now on, I would hope the administration would engage themselves with city council. They haven't done this. That's why we're here tonight. That's why all of you are here. The mayor did not have on his agenda when he first became mayor any kind of public safety acknowledgement. Go back and check the history record for that. It wasn't something he wanted to do. But then American Rescue Plan came in and we had three caveats of need: public health, public safety, and economic recovery. That's what it was all about. We had to measure them out with matrix and dollars. So, we're here tonight, very difficult decision. I'm for the fire department. Somebody told me, aren't you? I've been here when nobody was here. So that's not true. So what I'm saying now, learn from this process. We don't need to do business this way. It's not necessary to sit here and last hour and work out deals. This should have been a done deal earlier on because you all would have been working on the same page. City Council has a fiduciary responsibility, and I trust everybody understands what that is. So, to claim that they don't do due diligence is totally wrong. So now, tonight, we listen and we hear what the vote will be, and I think we can understand that it was a difficult decision, but That's their job. But it's the mayor's job to inform the city council. So you don't have these log jams of interest of one against the other. That was not done. And that's why we're here tonight, to satisfy the city, the fire department, and the people that need this service. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council this evening?
Ben McLaughlin, 124 Cook Avenue. As you know, I additionally serve as president of the Jamestown Professional Firefighters, Local 137. It's a role and responsibility in both an honor and an extraordinary responsibility. I come before you again to urge you to lift the hiring freeze. I don't need to explain again why you should vote yes. I come here before you tonight to urge you to take the vote. It's time to make a decision, and as FEMA clearly advised last week, you should be taking steps to hire now. Over the past few months, I've had the opportunity to observe the council and its actions up close. I initially respected you for doing your due diligence and trying to make an informed decision. I had reached out to each of you to offer any assistance, information, or a line of sight regarding the safer grant. With each meeting or work session, there has been a reason to convince the council to postpone a vote. There were concerns with the cost at the end of the grant period, but what is happening to the hundreds of thousands of dollars per year in ambulance revenue for this year and every year after? There were unfounded concerns based on anonymous sources stemming from training conducted at a local fire academy. We recently learned that these concerns have been addressed with new recruits going to the New York State Fire Academy in Monterey Falls. The latest concern expressed stems from concerns about impact arbitration. And I stand here before you to tell you that it never crossed our mind, because we already have a settlement that addresses our staffing. But to ease that concern, the union and Mayor Sundquist came to you in April with an agreement waiving our right to impact arbitration for these 8 safer positions. And we went as far as getting it approved by City's Corporation Council and had it ratified by the membership. But a fear of financial risk in 2026 has made you miss the point. The reality is that the risks are today and tomorrow, and we were very lucky today, considering there were 2 fires and multiple EMS calls that were handled by our neighbors. Jamestown firefighters will answer thousands of calls this year and in 24, 2025, and 2026. The simple, overwhelming fact is that the city does not meet the National Fire Protection Agency's NFPA 1710, which is the standard for minimum staffing for emergency personnel response. It is a widely accepted national standard and used in court. During last week's FEMA call with Ms. Barone, she clearly stated the intent of the safer grant is to, quote, increase compliance with the standard. In other words, you should be in compliance with the standard. The City Council, a yes vote is not even a close call. And as we've said in recent weeks, we will all be resting easier knowing that every fire station is open in the city, our ambulances staffed, and in compliance with the national safety standards. The City Council has a majority of members with close personal ties to those who have served in uniform or as a first responder. That includes those in law enforcement, career or volunteer fire service, or in selfless service to their country. I know that at the start of each shift or tour of duty, there's a piece of you praying for the protection of those you love and care about, because there's also a piece of you that knows there's a very real risk that they may be harmed or not return at all. Speaking for myself, I'm prepared to advocate to make that tour or shift safer for them, to reduce that risk. And for each of you, you have this awesome responsibility and authority to do so now. Our union has been advocating for a safer Jamestown for years and will continue to do so. You've all been elected to represent the people, and they have been loud and clear on this issue. Tonight it is time to vote. There are no more questions, and the facts have remained unchanged from the day the grant was awarded. And refusing to lift the hiring freeze is an acknowledgement and acceptance of continued inadequate staffing. I respectfully urge you to all vote yes for a safer Jamestown. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to address the council this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Do we have any presentation of petitions and communications?
We have one email to be read into the record. Firefighters are very important. I totally get that. But the city council is doing the right thing by making sure once the grant is run out, the city can still afford the personnel. Up until 8 years ago, I never paid attention to taxes. Now, after being a homeowner, I pay a lot of attention to taxes. Since 2015, when I purchased my home in the city, my taxes have gone up, roughly $300. I'd have to look for an accurate number. Now, $300 may not seem like a ton of money, but it is. In an economy where inflation is at record highs, every penny counts. $300 is barely a week's worth of groceries anymore, unless I want to buy junk processed foods to feed my family. The current and previous administration's reckless spending of my tax money is no longer acceptable. Jamestown must be good stewards of the taxpayers' money, or people will continue to leave. I want my 2 sons to graduate and find good-paying jobs in this area. They should not have to leave unless they want to, not because it's unaffordable to stay. With my job, I'm able to move anywhere in the country. Maybe I should. I'm sure the administration could care less if I leave and take my tax money with me. They will just raise them more to cover. I'm all for having a fully staffed fire department. They are heroes. But I can't spend outside my means, neither should the city. Just because I have a credit card with a $25,000 limit does not mean I can max it out. I cannot afford to pay that bill when it comes due. City Council, Mr. Mayor, make sure this is sustainable before making this huge decision. Thank you. Michael Haddad, 61 Willow Avenue, Jamestown.
Thank you. Is there any other?
That was it.
That was it? Okay. We'll now move on to the reports from our standing committees, and we'll start with the Finance Committee, and the first 4 resolutions will be sponsored by Councilwoman Carrera.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing payment of the regular audit.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Karuba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Faulkner?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
DeVersa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
President Holmes?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a lease agreement with the Jamestown Renaissance Corporation for office space on the 3rd floor of City Hall for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Karuba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Faulkner?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
DeVersa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
President Holmes?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing the mayor to approve the water service agreement and water and wastewater agreement between the Village of Falconer and Jamestown Board of Public Utilities.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Karuba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Faulkner?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
DeVersa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
President Holmes?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are withdrawing resolution number 4. It will be replaced under new business by resolution number 16.
The next 4 resolutions under finance will be sponsored by Councilwoman Eklund.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an extended rental agreement with U.S. Steam Lines Ltd. to lease dock space at the McCray Point Dock for the 2024 through 2028 seasons with the option to renew for 2 additional 5-year terms. Just note that he already is under contract for this year, that's why it's not.
Any other questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Karuba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Faulkner?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
DeVersa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
President Holmes?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing Mark Schlemmer, P.E., to attend the annual highway school to be held June 5th through 7th, 2023.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Karuba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Faulkner?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
DeVersa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
President Holmes?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing the mayor and Mark Retzer, P.E., to execute an agreement with Lake Shore Paving Incorporated for cold mill and overlay for Roland Road 2023
for a total bid amount of $379,704.00.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Faulkner.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution authorizing the mayor and Mark Ritzer, P.E., to purchase from Freightliner Maintenance Incorporated 2 new 2024 Freightliner 114 SD Plus chassis with dump body trucks for a total amount not to exceed $356,240.00. Please note that this is paid for by the New York State DPW CHIPS Company.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Faulkner.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye. That concludes our resolutions from finance. We'll now move on to the Public Safety Committee, and the one resolution will be sponsored by Councilman Russell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution appointing Brett P. Sheldon, Nicole Cahey, and reappointing Jenny Ibero to the office of Commissioner of Deeds for a term of 2 years.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Faulkner.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
And President Bose.
Aye. That concludes our pre-filed resolutions from our standing committees. Do you have any report of special committees? Report of city officers? Report from council persons on administrative boards? Any unfinished business? We do have several items under new business. We actually have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 resolutions. The first, is it 4?
First three.
3.
Are
These are Marie's, okay?
Thank you.
We'll go down. Do the first 3. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Resolved that the following claim be and hereby is approved. Elizabeth Yeager, 360 East Virginia Boulevard, Jamestown, New York, 14701, $960 for claim number 10 of 2022.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Faulkner.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. Be it resolved that the mayor of the city of Jamestown be and he hereby is authorized to enter into an agreement with Highmark Life Insurance Company of New York, placed through Assured Partners LLC, 98 John Muir Drive, Amherst, New York, 14228, for specific excess stop-loss insurance policy for the period June 1st, 2023 through May 31st, 2024, in the amount of $175,000 for a specific deductible annual unlimited maximum reimbursement at a cost of $110.52 per covered participant per month, subject to the approval of the Corporation Council as to form.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Faulkner.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. Be resolved that warrants be drawn and paid to the respective owners and paying agents the sum of $396,399.00 in accordance with the bond and note requirement as follows. Public improvement bonds refunding of 2010 A bonds issue of March 19th, 2019, $367,500.00 principal and $28,899.00 for 6 months interest at 5% per annum on $1,155,956.00.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon.
Aye.
Brackman.
Aye.
Karuba.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Faulkner.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Diversa.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
President Bose.
Aye. The next 3 resolutions under new business will be sponsored by Councilwoman Eklund.
Thank you, Mr. President. Resolved that warrants be drawn and paid to the respective owners and paying agents the sum of $321,125.00 in accordance with the bond and note requirement as follows. Public improvement bonds, refunding of the 2011 Series A bonds, issue of October 15th, 2020. $290,000 in no cents principal and $31,125 in no cents for 6 months interest at a 4% per annum on $1,245,000 in no cents.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Shelton?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Karuba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Faulkner?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
DeVersa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
And President Bose?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize in advance. This is a pretty wordy resolution, but it's so that everybody is clear because this came as new business what it actually entails. Whereas under the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, and home programs, entitlement communities are allotted funds to implement housing, neighborhood, community, and economic development activities. And whereas the City of Jamestown has prepared for submission to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, a 5-year consolidated plan from 2015 to 2019 that is designed to help local jurisdictions to assess their affordable housing and community development needs and market conditions, and to make data-driven, place-based investment decisions, and serves as a framework for a community-wide dialogue to identify housing and community development priorities that align and focus funding from the CPD Formula Block Grant programs. And whereas the City of Jamestown has been designated an entitlement community and is eligible to prepare and submit an annual action plan which includes proposed housing, neighborhood, community, and economic development activities to be funded through the city's CDBG and home program funding allotments. And whereas $45,000 of the homeowner occupied rehabilitation allocation for 2018 is being reallocated to first-time buyers, home buyers assistance program. Whereas $54,000 of the homeowner occupied rehabilitation allocation for 2019 is being reallocated to the first-time home buyers assistance program. And whereas $63,000 of the homeowner occupied rehabilitation allocation for 2020 is being reallocated to first-time home buyers assistance program. And whereas $63,000 of the homeowner occupied rehabilitation allocation for 2021 is being reallocated to first-time home buyers assistance program. And whereas this substantial amendment establishes the reallocation of 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021 home funds from the homeowner occupied rehabilitation to first-time home buyers assistance program in the total amount of $225,000 and no cents. Therefore, let it be resolved that the mayor be and is hereby authorized and directed to submit the significant amendment of the fiscal year 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021 annual action plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. That's it.
Everybody rest?
No, I'm just kidding.
Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Karuba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Faulkner?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
DeVersa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
And President Bose?
Aye.
Resolution number 15 is a resolution designating up to $500,000 in American Rescue Plan Act Economic Development Fund for the purpose of funding the Builders Exchange of the Southern Tiers NCCER pre-apprenticeship trades program under the Workforce Development Grant to be targeted toward developing and investing in Jamestown's workforce. This will be administered through the Jamestown Local Development Corporation, JLDC, by the Jamestown Urban Renewal Agency, JURA. The Southern Tier Builders Exchange shall utilize its funds for the pre-apprenticeship trades program to support administering their program.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please poll the council.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Brackman?
Aye.
Karuba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Faulkner?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
DeVersa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
And President Bose?
Aye. And our last resolution under new business, number 16, that was added tonight, will be sponsored by Councilwoman Kaluta.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution to suspend the hiring freeze for the purpose of adding 8 new positions in the Jamestown Fire Department for a period of up to 3 years to accept $1.8 million in federal safe grant funding contingent upon meeting specific terms and conditions. Be it resolved that the hiring freeze instituted by Jamestown City Council is hereby suspended for the purpose of adding 8 new positions in the Jamestown Fire Department to be funded in part with proceeds from a $1.8 million staffing for adequate fire and emergency responses SAFER grant for a period of up to 3 years. And be it further resolved that the mayor be and is hereby authorized and directed to execute all required approvals, certifications, and assurances with the Federal Emergency Management Administration, FEMA, in order to accept and utilize said $1.8 million SAFER grant, subject to the review and approval of all documents as to their form and substance by the Corporation Council. And be it further resolved that the above authorization shall be contingent upon and subject to the following terms and conditions. 1, the successful negotiation of a tentative agreement with the Jamestown Professional Firefighters Association, Local 137, providing that upon the full utilization or expiration of said SAFER grant funding, that the 8 firefighters to be hired with SAFER grant proceeds shall not constitute a new fire department minimum staffing requirement in accordance with an impact arbitration order dated October 3rd, 2002. Said tentative agreement shall be subject to review of and approval by outside legal counsel as retained for the City of Jamestown by action from the Jamestown City Council. 2, Local 137 shall waive its right to pursue and will forego any and all legal action against the City of Jamestown relative to the City of Jamestown's inability to secure new outside funding for the retention of any of the 8 firefighters initially hired with funding in part from the SAFER grant program. 3, the city shall make good faith and reasonable efforts to secure new outside funding necessary to retain and continue the new firefighter positions that were initially funded in part with SAFER grant proceeds. 4, formal ratification of said tentative agreement by the voting membership of Local 137. 5, formal ratification of said tentative agreement by the Jamestown City Council and the execution of the final agreement by the mayor of the City of Jamestown, subject to the review of and approval by outside legal counsel. And be it further resolved that the city clerk, finance director, or city controller be and is hereby authorized and directed to utilize funding from the contingency line in the fiscal year 2023 City General Fund budget for the purpose of retaining outside legal counsel services relative to this matter.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
I just have a comment. I just want to commend this entire council for working together on this. I know it's been a very contentious topic, but all of this council was able to come together in a bipartisan fashion. They were able to drown out a lot of unproductive, necessary noise, and they were able to work together. Particularly, Ms. Karuba was able to draft this resolution that's before us tonight, and I just commend everyone on this council for working together. You truly did your jobs on this, often asking difficult questions in the face of adversity. So kudos to all of you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I do have a comment, and I'm really wanting to see this, excuse me, move forward. I think everybody is aware of the need from a public safety standpoint. If this will help us get to where we're trying to get to, then I'm all for it. So I just wanted to make sure. I think if it went forward as it wasn't going to pass. So if this will help us get us to where we're trying to get to give us the additional resources that we need, and to help with the public safety issues that we see here in the city, then I think we should give this some consideration. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I'll piggyback on that a little bit, because all along, my constituents and many residents of the city have gone out of their way to make a comment that the need is now.
Yes.
And so I've stuck by that all along through the deliberations, and the council should be commended for coming together with this new resolution to put forth for a vote. But the need is now, and 3 years is a long time in many people's lifetime. So let's see how the outcome is.
I just want to clarify a couple of things. One, there is, and I know I've said it before to everyone, there is no one on this council who didn't agree with hiring Pete. It's just at what cost and what hindrance and how we can make it work for everybody. And I do want to acknowledge and appreciate Ben, again, for reaching out to all of us, answering questions, having discussions with us, understanding, maybe not agreeing with both sides, and at least taking the time and respectfully understanding why we did this with due diligence. It was not out of fodder, it was not saying we didn't agree with it, it was trying to make it work. So thank you. And for clarity, just so everybody to reiterate, I know you mentioned the ambulance revenue, that is still up for suggestion with us about creating the line item to definitely go to the fire department. I did ask the mayor today how we are going to acknowledge the miss in the first 3 years. If you recall that the grant is for 1.8, the costs come in between 2.2 and 2.5. So we're anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000 short. Anticipating, hoping to use some of that ambulance revenue to cover that, but I want everybody to understand why the questions were there. Yeah, we're talking 3 years down the road, but we're also talking about this year and next year's budget. So I'm grateful that we were able to iron that out and see how we could get there, so thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
I'll just add in, she mentioned the numbers 2.2 and $2.6 million. The 2.2 million was for the first 3 years. Those numbers were provided to us by Joe Bolito. We basically had to call a comptroller in from retirement to crunch numbers for us. He's the one that provided the 2.2 million for 3 years. Like Ms. Eklund said, that is short. We're short on the 1.8 million. So then the question came up was, how are we going to fill that void? That 2.2 million and that 2.6 million, to answer your question, those numbers don't include any overtime. Joe Bolito figured those numbers out on strictly for 3 years, none of those 8 firefighters working 1 hour of overtime. Now we know that's not realistic. So those numbers are actually going to be larger because they're going to be called in on off shifts and they're going to be callbacks and everything else. So that's been the question all along is how do we pay for this? Numbers are unknown. So that's where we're at now.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'd just like to thank everyone again from the council. A lot was going on behind the scenes. I think a lot of people think that not much happens other than at the council meetings, but I can assure you we've all been talking and sharing comments, concerns, again, how we would fund this. No one wants to see any layoffs in 3 years, but as Mr. Champ and several other people have pointed out, we also have to be concerned about the taxpayers in the city. We hear constantly how high the taxes are. If we can make this work, we'll certainly do our best. We'll certainly continue to look for funding and hope that that doesn't happen in 3 years, but we have to be mindful of where we are at in our city without a significant increase in our tax base. Unfortunately, many decisions have to be made in a fiscally prudent manner.
Just one more thing too, the Reverend, he spoke about faith. And we have to have faith in the situation. And when I look at this resolution, on both parts, the city as well as the fire department, we have to make good faith and reasonable efforts to secure that funding. We know we're gonna need it going forward, so we should start working on those efforts now to make sure that we have money going forward to support these resources. So.
Very true.
That's it? Okay.
I'm done.
Clerk, please poll the council on the resolution.
Councilmember Sheldon?
Aye.
Rackford?
Aye.
Kaluba?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Definitely yes.
Fowler?
Aye.
Eklund?
Aye.
Aversa?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
President Booth?
Aye. To come before the council, anything else? I just wanted to add, I would be remiss if I didn't say a few things. I know said, but as president of the council, you know, there's always some tough decisions. I had several constituents email me, call me. We talked about the situation, and one constituent said, "You're signing up for this again. Why do you do this?" And this is kind of why you do it. These things are a process, and we have numbers people, and I want to thank Kim for all the work that she's done in the finance committee and trying to put these numbers together, trying to make it work. Again, I mentioned this before. I was on the council the last time we had to lay people off, and I don't want to have to do that. So we have to do our best to make sure that doesn't happen down the road. I don't want to see that happen to anybody. It has to be sustainable. We have to try to make it sustainable. I want to thank Councilwoman Karuba for putting the legal work together into this, the verbiage and the wording on it. I want to thank Ben and the fire department for, you know, the work that they've done and educating the public and calling us and talking to us. And it's truly a joint effort between the city, the administration, the council, and this is how things get done. You know, as I tell the students in school, democracy is messy. It's not meant to be quick and easy and always painless. It takes time, it takes compromise, it takes a lot of questions to be answered, it takes a lot of wrangling around to try to get to the point where everybody can live with. Sometimes you get everything you want, sometimes you don't, sometimes you're in the middle. But that's how the process works. So I'm glad that this council moved in the direction they did. I know it took longer, it was frustrating for many people in the public, especially the fire department, that it took extra time, but I think we wanted to make sure that we had all the questions answered and that we did our due diligence, move forward, and like I said, take a leap of faith a little bit on both sides and move forward. And Deputy Chief Coons has to get your hands full now, get out there and start to find some bodies and get those guys trained, and let's get moving on this. And again, if it's for 3 years, we have 3 years of this to work with. Hopefully it'll be longer than that. Hopefully we can sustain it. So as long as I'm on this council, and I'm sure I speak for the rest of them, as long as they are, they'll do their best to try to make sure that we can either get another grant, get a retention grant, or find some other sources of revenue to try to keep as many of these bodies on as possible. Again, thank you to the council and to the public. Seeing nothing else, the meeting is adjourned.
Do you mind going just a minute?
I can. The mayor wants to speak.
To the council members, President Dulles, I appreciate you yielding a minute to me. I just wanted to thank you all, sincerely. I know this has not been the most easy process. I know that it's difficult at times, but more importantly, you, like me as mayor, we have our entire city as constituents, and it's not often easy getting those phone calls, not often easy trying to field those questions. And this process, I know at times can be messy, but the end result is what matters. And I do want to thank you all for going through that. I do want to thank the union. I want to thank our chiefs. This is certainly a good and positive result. All of us working together, getting to yes, right? It's very easy to say no. It's much harder as one large body to work towards yes. So I want to thank you all for that. I know as mayor, my role is to try to bring funding into the city. And it is difficult because we are starting to look at very large federal and state funding coming in. So our task, unfortunately, is not going to get easier. In fact, it's going to get harder, but only to benefit every single resident of our city, every single taxpayer. Because what you all did tonight is not only have you made Jamestown safer by adding firefighters, you've ensured that we don't have to raise the taxes to do it. And so I want to, again, thank you all on behalf of all the residents, on behalf of the administration, and we look forward to continue working with you as we continue to improve the entire Jamestown community. Thank you all.
Enjoy Memorial Day weekend. I'll say, let us remember.
Great music.